Hi, everybody. How are you doing? It is Monday, August 8th, 2022. I didn't do a live stream on Friday, you may have noticed. Well, I caught something. You can still hear it in my voice. I have not been doing well this weekend, but the show must go on, so we're back. The price of Bitcoin is $23,809. The price of Ethereum is $1,773. Let's take a look at that price before we dive into today's topic. The price of Bitcoin down 15.15, not 15, 0.15% in the last hour, up 2.37% in the last 24 hours, and up 3.68% in the last 7 days. And in fact, in the last 8 weeks, it's up 37%, which is pretty impressive. Bitcoin has retested the 200-week moving average price as support, meaning that it has finished the week above that line, and it will have a hard time getting below that line again, indicating that the price is probably headed north. It's not going to go lower than that line. So these are bullish signals. That was from Rect Capital, that analysis. He also says many invest in BTC for financial freedom. What would you do with your financial freedom once you've achieved it? First, let me know down in the comments. Second, I include this because I really like this question. It's a question I ask myself often, and it's a question that I think everybody should ask themselves. If you were financially free, if you had tons of money, can you hear that? There's a siren outside. Close your eyes and imagine for me, if you will. You wake up tomorrow to a phone call. It's from a lawyer. The lawyer's purporting to be from a long-lost uncle that you never knew you had. He has died, and he has willed you an immeasurable fortune. What will you do with that money? Well, you'll buy some toys, you'll travel, but you still have the rest of your life to live. So what will you do with your life after you've had some immediate fun? Assuming you actually have financial freedom, what would you like to spend your life doing? Those are probably things you should be doing now, because that's the question of what you would like to do in your life. Don't just work toward financial freedom without knowing what you actually want freedom to do. Also now, continuing on, looking at the price from Will Clemente, bids in the Bitcoin order book on Coinbase are stacked down to 17K and below. A lot of people are hoping to buy BTC lower. The last time the order book was this skewed to the bid side was the grind up from the March 2020 lows. If you can't tell, what he's saying is that there are a lot of buy orders on the low end, and that probably means that it's not going to get very low, because as soon as it starts to dip, people are going to buy. Historical trend shows that that was the bottom, right? These orders on the left side that we're seeing over here, those were from before it pumped in 2020, before it popped well above 10K and has never gotten back down to those prices. Will is insinuating that we're in a similar spot today. Also, another exchange halted withdrawals. If you are not holding your coins in self-custody, I'm not sure they're really yours. Not your keys, not your coins. This was HODLNOT, not a service I had ever used, not one I've ever really talked about or heard about much, but there it is. They no longer are letting people withdraw. Get a hardware wallet, hold your own coins. But here's the real topic for the day. Ban in the USA. The U.S. Treasury Department sanctions Tornado Cash, barring all Americans from using the decentralized crypto mixing service. Yikes. This got picked up even by mainstream media. The Verge is talking about it. U.S. Treasury bans Tornado Cash mixer for a role in crypto money laundering. The U.S. Department of Treasury has added the Tornado Cash crypto mixer to a list of sanctioned organizations like North Korea and Iran and others, barring all U.S. citizens from interacting with it, requiring that U.S. assets belonging to Tornado Cash be reported to the Office of Foreign Asset Control, OFAC. If you see that on Twitter when people are talking about it, that's the office that they're talking about, Office of Foreign Assets Control. Eric Voorhees chimed in. I really like Eric's takes on almost everything. I think I inhabit a similar headspace to Eric. Tend to agree with him on a lot. The headline, Treasury sanctions Tornado Cash. Reality, Tornado Cash is not a person nor a business entity. It's an open source software protocol. It can't be sanctioned. It does not respond to subpoenas or legal requests. It is privacy-seeking Americans who have been sanctioned. That is true. And of course, they don't say that it's privacy-seeking Americans. They have other reasons. We'll discuss those more in a minute. But Voorhees is not the only one to say this. Jake Chervinsky, who is a lawyer at the Blockchain Association, head of privacy there, said for years the U.S. Treasury has carefully distinguished bad actors from the neutral tools and technology that they, plus everyone else in the world, are able to use. This is normal, right? If criminals use telephones to plan a crime, you don't go after telephones. If they use the internet, you don't go after internet. This is not a good precedent for them to set. Normal people have a right to privacy. This is one of the foundational principles upon which the United States was founded. The decision to sanction Tornado Cash, a decentralized protocol, threatens that smart and balanced approach to crypto, says Jake Chervinsky. He is right. Niraj Agrawal from Coin Center said that Coin Center issued a statement. Today's action does not seem as much a sanction against a person or entity with agency. It appears instead to be sanctioning of a tool that is neutral in character and that can be put to good or bad uses like any other technology. It is not any specific bad actor who is being sanctioned, but instead it is all Americans who may wish to use this automated tool in order to protect their own privacy while transacting online, who are having their liberty curtailed without the benefit of any due process. It's exactly what's happening. Everybody who's privacy-minded, everybody who actually believes in privacy is saying the same thing. They're doing this wrong. What you're doing is a far overstep of what the government should be allowed to do. Secretary Antony Blinken, who is the Secretary of State serving under Biden, said, we'll continue to aggressively pursue actions against currency mixers laundering virtual currency for criminals. Today, U.S. Treasury sanctioned virtual currency mixer Tornado Cash, which has been used to launder money for a U.S.-sanctioned DPRK state-sponsored cyber hacking group. So they're saying that North Korea used Tornado Cash. Therefore, Tornado Cash is a criminal organization. They didn't just stop there, right? They started sanctioning the GitHub repository where Tornado Cash, an open source project, had been housed. They went after the GitHubs of the founders, right? Just the founder of Tornado Cash just had his GitHub account suspended. Anybody who contributed to that account had their account suspended. GitHub repo is 404. Contributors have had their accounts deleted. Guessing rationale is that they're part of the Tornado Cash entity listed on the SDN. Amazon Web Services is SAO for Tornado Cash, DNS, but it no longer resolves. Tornado.cash.limo returns this page. So it's interesting what they're technologically able to do at this point, but I gave a talk about decentralized organizations in 2018 at the Institute for Crypto Anarchy in Prague. The main point of my talk was that you cannot attack a decentralized organization the same way that you attack a centralized one. If this was a corporation, you could jail the leaders, dissolve the corporation, and that would be the end of it because it's a hierarchy. It's a centralized hierarchy. Tornado Cash is not that. It's a piece of software, open source software, actually. So in its present state, they can go after it, they can hurt it, they can cripple it, but they can't actually take it offline in a meaningful sense. More on that in a moment. From Eric.eth, Eric describes himself as a Ethereum maxi, which is interesting, and JPEG connoisseur. I've literally met and interviewed the people who made Tornado Cash. Great, well-intentioned people who want to create an option for privacy. Watching U.S. government officials make up bold-faced lies that it's created by North Korea is beyond infuriating. He's right. Tornado Cash contract still running on Ethereum. Tornado Cash front end still up on IPFS. That will never change and must infuriate those trying to stop it. So, this is an open source project, right? It can be copied quite easily and has been. There are numerous copies out there available. They took down the main one, but you can't turn this off. This is an interesting part of all of this. Circle just froze 75,000 USDC belonging to unsuspecting Tornado users, as well as 149 USDC donated to the project. Did you know that USDC could be frozen? I didn't know that. Neither did Jill Gunter, who has been in the space for a very long time. She was around well before the peak of the last cycle. She's a smart player, and she just learned, like me and probably many others, that apparently USD coin can just be frozen by Circle. Yikes. I thought a big point of all of this was that it was uncensorable money. Apparently, USDC does not hold up to that standard. Decentralization doesn't matter until it does. So when somebody criticizes something like Solana and says that it's not actually decentralized, well, you may say, well, that doesn't matter. It works, right? Okay, decentralization doesn't matter until it does. Your privacy, the ability to preserve your privacy, the ability to preserve your rights, that ability doesn't matter until it does, until somebody tries to take those rights away. FYI, Tornado Cash has mirrors, and then this person lists several of them, which point to the IPFS hash here. Alternatively, you can self-host, can't cancel permissionless tech, right? USD Coin can be censored by Circle, who controls it, but open source software, you're going to have a hard time locking that down, especially when it's hosted on IPFS. This is distributed serverless architecture for exactly this kind of scenario. It's permissionless internet. Is it the same person? Oh, no, that is a different cutesy Anon account. Anyways, all the Tornado Cash stuff is unlucky, time to pivot, and then they link to ZK Money, zeroknowledge.money. There are other ways that people can do this, right? Eric, again, says Tornado Cash will just become Pirate Bay now. Endless forks of the front end spun up across IPFS and ENS, Ethereum Name Service. There's truly no stopping it. And that is entirely true. I think that this action is the flailing of a dying empire. Yikes. It also begs some interesting questions. Kobe, who we have cited on this live stream before, says, if I put 1 ETH into Tornado Cash right now, because the contract is still up. It's up. It's on Ethereum. If I put 1 ETH into Tornado Cash right now, do I go to jail or what happens? Or what happens if I put 1 ETH into Tornado Cash and then withdraw it into Gainsey's address? I don't know who Gainsey is, somebody that Kobe doesn't like, apparently. Does he go to jail? Sounds pretty good deal. Sounds like a pretty good deal to me. Low cost and no more Gainsey. So that's a funny take, and it's interesting. It begs the question, which I've also seen on Twitter, but I don't have the tab open. Will future cryptocurrencies have to incorporate the ability to reject a transaction? If somebody sends you illicit money that's being tracked by centralized authorities to make you look like an illicit actor, well, what are you going to do about that? Huh? Do they have a way of identifying that it didn't come from you? Right now, I don't think there is a way to reject the receipt of a cryptocurrency. This is also an issue, definitely, with NFTs. And that has been brought up in the more thoughtful conversations on the topic. If somebody mints an NFT of, say, something very illegal, and I mean very illegal images, and then they send that NFT to you, are you liable for that? Are you on the hook? Yikes. Those things will absolutely happen, right? Just as Kobe is saying here, if I put 1 ETH into Tornado Cash and then send it to this person I don't like, are they criminally liable now? This is a poorly thought out policy. It is both unethical and ineffective, and opens up a whole host of other problems. It also points out something that I have been talking about for a long time. Munib, who is the founder of Stacks and is a Bitcoin guy through and through, says it's time to put our crypto tribalism aside. The crypto wars too are starting. U.S. Treasury puts privacy tool Tornado Cash on the sanctions list. This list is meant for people, not tech tools. Privacy tools are for every American. He's right, and this is the point that I have been making in many of these live streams. We can deal with infighting amongst cryptocurrency diehards and enthusiasts, but that is just wasting energy and creating division where there really needs to be a unified front, because there's an actual enemy coming. It's statists, it's centralized planners, it's people who are trying to preserve and lengthen the hard grip of a centralized government. Like I said, part of what got me interested in Bitcoin in the first place was this idea that it was the immovable object and the unstoppable force, right? Government and cryptocurrency. Government, which is really hard to imagine a world and a life without, and cryptocurrency, which is basically unstoppable. What happens when those two come head to head? because they don't actually get along. They're not actually compatible, drawn out to their logical conclusions. They don't really work together very well. That is happening, right? Munib is saying crypto wars part 2 are starting. I don't know what part 1 is. Was that the block size wars in 2017? Probably. Get ready for part 2, friends. It's going to get ugly, and it's not going to be infighting. It's going to be actual fighting with actual governments. Yikes. Crypto man Rob Nooner. U.S. persons that utilize Tornado Cash will be violating U.S. sanctions. That's a huge criminal offense, almost as big as some of the offenses that Nancy Pelosi has committed. He's right. We've joked about her insider trading. The entire internet has joked about her insider trading, and nothing has been done about it. And this is, again, one of the clearest symptoms to me, one of the clearest signs that we live in the twilight of a dying empire. When the powerful are not held to account ever, and there isn't even a mechanism to make that happen, we're screwed. Institutionally, we are screwed. And I can prove that, right? I can prove that this is happening right now. Regardless of where you are on the political spectrum, whether you're left or right, or consider yourself unaffiliated, just think of somebody with whom you seriously disagree who is in a position of power. You could say Donald Trump, you could say Joe Biden, you could pick any number of different senators, whoever you want in the United States specifically, I'm thinking. Pick somebody. Okay, has that individual violated laws? Have they done things that a regular person would definitely get arrested for? Okay. Now, did that person go to jail? Again, Nancy Pelosi, we joke about her insider trading. It is an open secret. Everybody knows that she does this. Nothing's going to happen about it. We live in a time and in a society where powerful people are not held to account. Powerful in any meaningful way. If they are part of the apparatus of power, they are not held accountable. If a cop shoots an innocent person and kills them, they go on paid leave. Boy, that sounds a lot like vacation to me. I wish I had more paid leave. This is what I mean. Those are not good things. When that's in place, when that is happening, your institutions are not going to last very long. They are not strong. They are not doing the thing they were designed to do. You're going to get people really upset and angry. They're going to start pushing back. That's the stage we're at right now with the twilight of the American empire. My hair's been up, but the hair tie just broke. Hair's coming down. There it is, folks. Oh, moving on. Another example of power not being held to account. If you want to launder money, you're going to have to do it the old-fashioned way, bringing suitcases of cash to HSBC, the notorious bank known for laundering money. This wasn't just one joke. Money laundering remains most effective through USD mixing service HSBC. Less than a year ago, HSBC was fined $85 million for lax anti-money laundering controls. Banks do this all the time. They pay millions, they pay billions in fines for exactly this kind of thing. Yet they're still operating. Nobody shuts down HSBC. Nobody shuts down JP Morgan Chase. The CEOs don't even get fired. Nobody's really held to account. They pay a fine, right? They pay a service fee to be able to do this stuff that you and I would go to prison for. Here's another interesting related topic. The reconciliation bill includes nearly $80 billion for IRS, including enforcement audits. What that means for taxpayers. What that means for taxpayers is that they're coming for you. They're not going for high net worth individuals so much anymore. They're coming for everybody. Here is an 87,000 person stadium, the number of IRS agents Biden just forced you to hire. That money being spent to hire IRS agents, up to 87,000 people, that's going to be used to come after the average Joe, regular middle-class folks. Again, twilight of a dying empire. And when the world ends, we're probably going to be surrounded with all of the memes about how miserable and terrible things are, because what else are you going to do? When the empire is collapsing, I guess you can at least make some jokes about it. 87,000 IRS agents versus Tornado Cash users. This is related. This is the flailing of a dying empire. They are hiring more IRS agents. They are trying to stomp out privacy tools because they want your money. They're coming for your money. And I really only see one way to preserve your purchasing power, your hard-earned purchasing power, your ability to store in an incredible social technology battery that is money, your time and effort and energy for the future. Your only option is Bitcoin. Eventually, everything else is going to get crunched. That said, I still have a hard time calling myself a Bitcoin maximalist. And apparently, I'm not the only one. Matt Corallo, who is the 10th known contributor to Bitcoin Core, who has been a contributor to Bitcoin Core for many years, says Bitcoin maxis are a dying breed. While there was a time where everything except Bitcoin was basically a scam, that hasn't been true for a long time, and the smart money has moved on to figuring out which projects are going somewhere and which are straight up pump and dumps. He goes on and elaborates. Should I read the whole thing? Why not? Let's do it. This is particularly damning to Bitcoin because instead of its most vocal proponents explaining why Bitcoin is great and unique, its most vocal proponents spend all their time just attacking other projects. Sure, some of them are scams and may deserve it, but it doesn't help Bitcoin. I have said the same thing. Your energy is best used teaching people about Bitcoin, about how good it is, about how it works, about how it's pretty incomparable to every other cryptocurrency. You can even say that it's categorically different. I do. But to spend your time attacking other projects will not be as productive as you might think it will be. Because if they're into that thing and you start telling them that it's a scam, they're going to turn off their ears. They're not going to listen to you. So you can pat yourself on the back while the Titanic sinks and there's still a bunch of people on board. I, for one, want to get people on the life rafts. So I got to tell them about how useful the life rafts are. The narrative wars are coming, arguably, are already here. With ETH finally moving to proof of stake, people who've only heard about how proof of work won't work from Bitcoiners will have even less reason to care about what Bitcoiners have to say. Here's the thing about proof of stake. It'll probably work just fine. Now, it's a huge technological upgrade on a live network. That's hard to do, but the people who know about proof of stake, who know about the merge, they've all attested to this, that yeah, it's been thoroughly vetted and the upgrade will happen probably without a hitch, right? It's going to work. You may not like the upgrade, you may not agree with the underlying logic of proof of stake. Neither do I. I think it is basically encoding the same kind of structure that we've had in legacy finance. The rich get richer, the powerful get more powerful. But just because you dislike that, because you think it is unjust, don't tell me that it's not technologically going to work. It will probably work just fine. Moving on. And because of the us versus them culture that has developed in cryptocurrency, many ETH folks, like Ripple before them, will move on to lobbying regulators to make it harder and harder to access Bitcoin because proof of work boils the ocean, right? Narrative wars. Guys, we got to get ahead of that. Proof of stake is probably going to upgrade. The merge is probably going to happen just fine. And most people still think that proof of work boils the ocean. Spend your time explaining the virtues of proof of work, why that's a better system, fundamentally, ideologically. You cannot stake your identity on the thing that you oppose. Your identity has to be built fundamentally, foundationally, on the thing that you believe in. Spend your time there. Focus on why Bitcoin is unique. Talk about the difference of approach and conservatism, and a focus on why Bitcoin is the only real candidate as a truly neutral currency for the internet. Point out how funding models changed neutrality, but don't call that a scam, because it's not. Yeah, right. You can say that all the other cryptocurrencies are securities. Are securities fundamentally a scam? I mean, stocks exist. Those are securities, right? Go ahead and call them what they are. Say they're securities and say, I prefer Bitcoin because it's not a security. It's an incredible new kind of property, distinguishable, separate, categorically separate from securities. Don't just call everything a scam. Words matter. Language matters. If you call everything a Ponzi scheme that's not your preferred Bitcoin, well, it's going to cause problems down the line. Jordan Peterson talks about how important words matter. How important language is. He says that you should choose your words very carefully. I agree with him. I'm not great at it. I'm still trying. I'm still learning, but I try to choose my words carefully. Finishing up Matt Corallo's thread. Because some people unnecessarily feel called out. No, just thinking Bitcoin is cool and other things are less interesting isn't the problem. It's thinking everything else is a scam just because it's different rather than has a different goal. Again, you can point to virtues in other systems. I look at Monero, for example. Monero fundamentally has privacy built in. So something like Tornado Cash isn't even necessary. Eric Voorhees chimed in. Eric, who I almost always agree with, says, thank you, Matt. You know who else chimed in on this thread? Nick Carter, who we've also talked about at length on this channel. Nick has been basically excommunicated from Bitcoin maximalism. Yikes. It's ugly, you guys. This infighting is not constructive. It is not helpful. I don't recommend it. It's not a path forward. This is what people think when they hear Bitcoin maxis chanting to each other. These Bitcoin maxis are so cringe, I don't even want to hold Bitcoin at this point, starting to believe it's some weird cult. Like I said, you don't want to be a fundamentalist. You don't. Look at fundies in other categories, religious fundies, political fundies. Don't do that. Don't bring that to cryptocurrency. That's not the way. And finally, finishing on this note. Oh, if it'll pull up. Oh, Michael Saylor. This is not where I thought I was ending. Maybe I have more tabs than I thought I did. You won't fully appreciate Bitcoin until you have been struck by lightning. And then he links to a Swan Bitcoin page about the Lightning Network, which is a great place to learn more. Geez, I really thought I had more tabs. What's going on here? Hold 1 second. Oh, I do have more tabs. Okay, let me close some things. Holding, play some music, go grab a snack, take a drink, give me 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Have we closed enough tabs that we can get back over here? Come on now. I got more stuff to talk about. Oh, where is it? Sorry, team. Didn't realize this would happen. I've got too many tabs on too small a window. Sailor, you won't fully appreciate Bitcoin until you have been struck by lightning. The people who are deeply into Bitcoin care more and more about lightning. But guess what? While lightning is awesome, and it is, and I definitely need to continue to learn more about it, it's not the only thing being built as a layer 2 on top of Bitcoin. There's lots happening. If anybody tells you that nobody's building on Bitcoin layer 2, they are wrong. Lots of projects fit the bill. Here's an interesting and funny meme. This is why I think proof of work is important. How to print energy. You can't. Cry. Cope. Energy is a fundamental property of the universe. It's everywhere. Nobody has a monopoly on energy. Anybody can theoretically tap into energy, various kinds of energy, and they can apply it computationally to the Bitcoin network. It is an egalitarian system fundamentally. It's also incredibly competitive. People routinely have to give up mining because it's so competitive. Nobody gains a lasting monopoly in the world of Bitcoin mining. You can't. You can't monopolize it. It is unmonopolizable. It's an open protocol with the fundamental physics of the universe built into it. That's how you can engage with it, and anybody else can. That is very different from proof of stake, which is more or less the powerful get more powerful. The central planners get to centrally plan. For example, in 2016, Vitalik predicted the max supply of ETH would not be more than 100 million. Today, the circulating supply is, if you believe the auditing, because there's a huge ongoing thing about actually auditing how much ETH is in supply. But according to this, today the circulating supply is 121 million. I expect the ultrasound money meme to progress similarly in the long run. The ultrasound money meme right now is, after the merge, the amount of Ethereum being created will theoretically go negative. It'll just get burned more than it's being created. And theoretically, the value should go up. This might work, guys. It might work really well for them, at least for a time. I don't agree with it. I don't like it, but it might work for them. One thing that it is not, however, is ultra-sound money. Sound money is money that has the right principles. one of the principles that you want to rely on for sound money is that it can't be tampered with. It can't be changed. The rules don't change. These guys are changing the rules to prove that it's ultrasound money. The mental gymnastics at play here, people. Ultrasound money doesn't just mean that the value goes up. What are you talking about? It doesn't just mean that the supply goes down. It means that you can't change the damn rules. And they're changing the rules to create ultrasound money. It's a contradiction in itself, and I don't like it. I don't think I should play this video, but I am going to recommend that you go find it because it is hilarious. Basically, this is a clip from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, a show that I have never watched and is now, I believe, the longest-running sitcom in American TV history. Yeah, that's right. At least live action. The Simpsons probably have them on animated. This is a clip where at the bar they created Patty Bucks, their own virtual currency for their bar. And they distributed those, they sold those, and the people spent the Patty Bucks, and now they're trying to figure out how a circular economy of Patty Bucks actually works. What do they find? It doesn't actually work. Spinning up a new currency is very, very hard. Bitcoin had what Michael Saylor calls an immaculate conception. The unique circumstances of that creation cannot be recreated. You can't do it again. You can't open Pandora's box twice. I've worked for startups that have tried to do this. In 2017, I worked for a crypto startup that spun up its own cryptocurrency. I was the head of marketing. We did a good job. We did an ICO. We raised a lot of money. What we didn't ever do was have revenue. And we didn't think that we needed to. This sounds so stupid now. The logic was the CEO and the other high levels really believed this. I went along with it. I guess I believed it too. Was that we didn't need revenue because we were going to create an economy where our token was useful and our treasury of tokens would become more valuable. That was the logic. It did not hold up against reality because when the market tanked, our runway tanked too. And we went from having about $30 million in cryptocurrency down to about $2 million in cryptocurrency in the period of a few months. And the entire marketing department, myself included, were let go as the company desperately pivoted into a different business model that actually had revenue. Ta-da! Interesting lesson to learn. Here's an interesting take on maximalism, actually. Maximalism is about how there should only be one money in society, not about the merits of other tech projects. Now, I have said that there are other projects that have genuine merits, and it's easy to point to examples. And he's saying the other merits don't matter. It's only maximalism about how there should only be one money in society. Now, what do you mean by should only be? Do you mean that it's inevitable that there will only be one, that this one sound, the most sound money will create a gravity well that sucks everything else into it? Or that it's somehow some moral imperative that we all use the same one money? Well, I wasn't the only one who had this question. Joe Burnett chimed in, said, not that there should only be one money, but that economic systems objectively inevitably converge on one money. It's not my opinion or anyone else's. It is simply economic reality. To which the original poster said, don't confuse theory and objective reality. In a free market, I agree. Free markets are theory. Reality is 150 fiat currencies, Bitcoin, metals, and other assets all having monetary premiums, at least partial monetization. So I'm actually confused what this person is saying. They're saying that it is a moral imperative that we all only use one money and it has to be the same one and we're not allowed to diverge on what we use. He's saying, free markets. Yeah, I'm actually confused by this. I don't follow the logic. Sorry, guy. It breaks down for me. I had the same question as Joe. Okay, this is my final tweet of the day. Not my tweet. You understand what I'm saying. From Sean Tuffy, who I don't actually know, but I thought this was funny. This book raises a lot of interesting questions. What book is it? It's Sapiens by Noah Yuval Harari. If you've not read Sapiens, I read it years ago, shortly after it came out. It was getting recommended by a lot of people. Also, his book Homo Deus was getting recommended by a lot of people. A lot of people have said that Noah Yuval Harari is a brilliant author. Really, just bringing together all of these incredibly novel ideas that I've never thought of before. Well, that was not exactly my experience. It wasn't. It was a good synthesis of a variety of ideas that I was very familiar with. And Harari definitely has a habit of saying something that sounds really smart and then saying something that is almost willfully ignorant in the same breath. So I felt similar to Sean here. This book raises a lot of interesting questions. Why did I buy this? Why am I still reading it? Should I think less of the person who recommended it to me? That's hilarious. I don't necessarily recommend this book. If you want to read it, fine. It's not idiotic. Harari is intelligent. But he says stupid things sometimes when I think it's convenient for him, when it's politically convenient, helpful to him to play stupid. He is also an absolute tool of the state. He is real buddy-buddy with the World Economic Forum, so not somebody with whom I'm going to deeply agree. All right, team, that's what I've got today. Big happenings in the world of cryptocurrency and privacy. This Tornado Cash thing does matter. It does. It sets precedent, right? This is not a road we want the government to go down. And we're going to have to unify on this. We're going to have to say unequivocally that privacy matters more than the infighting disagreements we have with other coins and their underlying ideas. Privacy is more fundamental than all of that. So, work together with the people you agree with. And I think most of us agree that privacy is important. I think most of us agree that uncensorable money is important. Just have your priorities in place, because I promise you there are bigger enemies than the guys who really like Bitcoin but disagree with you on some other things. That's what I got. Let me know what you think down below. We'll talk again soon. Later, team.